friends. We're doing another video on, guess who? Jason Blaha, my friends. The influencer himself who thinks he knows everything, which he doesn't know anything, but okay. The gym lifting, recruiting, lifting slave himself, Jason Blaha says, let's do a reaction video to this. Jason Blaha says progressive overload versus gains, the chicken or egg scenario. Oh man, okay.
Is progressive overload the driver of hypertrophy, or is it the evidence of hypertrophy? I thought I would chat.
Is progressive overload the driver of hypertrophy? Let's wait. I gotta get this again, man.
Is progressive overload the driver of hypertrophy, or is it the evidence of hypertrophy? I thought I would.
Is it the evidence of hypertrophy? That made that. Okay, man, this guy makes absolutely no sense. What is the driver of hypertrophy? What is the driver of hypertrophy? You want to know what the driver of hypertrophy is? When protein synthesis exceeds that breakdown. Well, what do they mean by that exactly? When they say that in science, what do they mean by protein synthesis needs to exceed that breakdown to see that mass on that myofibrillar? Well, okay, let's see. You go to the gym, you lift a weight, right? You're all going to call this, well, if we progressively overload the weight. Okay, you are overloading. You're overloading your body with weight, lifting weight. Okay, you want to climb higher in weight. Okay, so if I climb higher in weight, then my muscles will magically hypertrophy. Magically hypertrophy what? Temporarily what? Inflammation? Or they will hypertrophy, the muscles will get bigger. Well, okay, let's see. What happens when you lift weights? Okay, there's an increase in testosterone, right? There's a window for protein synthesis now, right? The window opens up a bit bigger. And there's a window for protein breakdown as well. So muscles are breaking down as well. There's a window that's open, but muscles are actually breaking down. So they're actually getting smaller. So when you go to the gym, you're actually breaking down proteins. They're actually getting smaller. Plus, here's another thing. Are you eating your natural diet to see that mass? Or are you eating some artificial diet like carbohydrates, which could fool you into believing you build muscles when they're actually sarcoplasmic muscles based on carbohydrates? See what I mean? It's based on glycogen loading in the muscle. You have to be very careful what you're doing. Now, how does that progressive overload work when they say protein synthesis exceeds this breakdown? It's really simple. Well, what happens is this. So you go to the gym, right? You eat a bowl of Cocoa Puffs, your bowl of Cocoa Puffs, right? Okay, so all you guys keep thinking, well, I'm going to keep eating the same bowl of Cocoa Puffs, but I'm going to increase the weight to 2, to 3, to 4, to 5, to maximum, whatever. You keep increasing, overloading it. But guess what? I'm not gaining any weight. The muscles aren't getting any bigger. Why? Want to know why? Because you didn't progressively overload on the protein synthesis. You kept eating one bowl of Cocoa Puffs. You have to increase the Cocoa Puffs. You have to increase the Cocoa Puffs to 2, to 3, to 4. You have to also maintain the mass that you gained already in that session. Plus, you have to eat for the breakdown, and then for protein synthesis, well, for the breakdown, protein synthesis needs to exceed that breakdown. And to gain the next level. You understand me? So every time you progressively overload the weight, you need to progressively overload the food. The protein synthesis needs to exceed what? That breakdown. The bigger you get, the higher the breakdown rate. Get it? So it's complicated. If you can't understand it, then don't even attempt the lifting, okay? Don't waste your time.
Chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today.
That's why Blaha is never growing. He's just wasting his time. All of you are wasting your time. All of you. Everything you're doing is you're wasting your time. Here's the thing. If you're trying to get mass on that myofibrillar, you're trying to grow that mass, I'm going to tell you one thing. That mass is very difficult to maintain. It was very difficult for me to maintain mass, but it's not difficult for me to maintain the myofibrillars that I grew through muscle damage. That's why your body's protected. It's protected because it doesn't want you to build any more muscle. Now, as far as muscle mass, well, the body doesn't really give a shit about muscle mass. You can keep trying to open a window and eat tons and tons of protein and grow more muscle mass. But again, it too will reach an MND size limit. That muscle mass will reach an MND size limit. And you won't be able to overcome it because the progenitor, it can't donate any more extra nuclei to that domain to support what? Further muscle growth. What do they mean by that? Because These nuclei, they synthesize protein. Without them, you can't synthesize any more protein. You can't build any more mass on that myofibrillar. It's really simple. Your body simply protects itself. It's an adaptation process, muscle damage. That's why it says with a repeated bout, there's no more damage. It protects itself from what? More damage. How does it do that? When it repairs and remodels stronger, so it's resistant from further assaults. It's like a wall. It puts up a wall by repairing and remodeling it bigger and stronger with more myofibrillars, so then it prevents the other muscle fibers from getting damaged. It's a wall, and then it goes into type 1. It sits there. That too is an adaptation process. It's adapted by protecting from getting damaged by going into type 1 and building the forefront muscles bigger and stronger by creating more myofibrillar growth. They repaired itself. It repaired itself and remodeled itself bigger and stronger, and it's no longer going to damage anymore. So what's the second option? Everybody's like, I got to gain mass on the myofibrillar. You're just wasting your time.
Kind of a nuanced topic, and in a way, it probably doesn't matter. But we are going to discuss this purely for the purpose of at least having an understanding of it. Because at the end of the day, we always know that progressive.
It does matter. Everything matters in bodybuilding. You need to figure it out. You need to look at things with reason. Why? Why does it do that? Why does this happen?
Overload will be associated with hypertrophy, irrespective.
Is overload associated with if I overload food, if I overload eating food, will it be associated with hypertrophy? Absolutely. Now, if I overload weight on my body and I don't eat, and I keep eating that one bowl of Cocoa Puffs that I did in the beginning, what will happen? Will I exceed it? Will I exceed? No, you won't. You won't succeed. You won't exceed. You won't anything.
Of whether it is the after effect of the muscle growth or the actual driver of it. So it's kind of like the chicken and egg scenario. You know, people.
It is not the driver. It is the stimulant. The driver is protein synthesis. When it exceeds that breakdown.
So which came first, the chicken or the egg? And I think the same thing can be applied here. And I'm going to kind of give.
It's kind of obvious. The chicken came first, and it was whole. It was built whole. You just weren't there when it was built.
My take on it based upon my observation of the evidence. So what really does seem to be the driver of hypertrophy is how many challenging reps you do.
No, it's not. It's when protein synthesis exceeds that breakdown. It's the opposite. Weightlifting is a stimulus to increase testosterone, which will actually weightlifting will lower your testosterone over time. Too much weightlifting, gives you low testosterone over time. It only ever increases in that session. That's why I tried to tell you, there's an increase in this in protein synthesis. There's a window, and now testosterone's elevated. Are you taking advantage of it? Are you going down to the buffet? Now, the first time you ate one plate. Now you have to eat 2 plates. Now you have to eat 3 plates. Now 4 plates. You have to progressively overload. If you don't progressively overload down at the buffet, you're never going to gain any muscle mass or any muscle at all. I don't know what kind of training you do. Are you an adapted lifter training full body 3 times a week, some stupid shit to gain mass on the myofibrillar, opening a window? Well, what's the point of going down there lifting, doing that, if you're opening a window and you're still eating one bowl of Cocoa Puffs? Get it, dude? Look, man, I do muscle damage training. It's complicated. It's hard. It's difficult. A majority of people, they wouldn't go through it. They wouldn't do it. They won't do it. So live with no muscle. Live with phony muscles or whatever it is you're doing there. Me personally, I don't want to live with any phony muscles. And I don't want to go to the gym because I want to be a gym bro. I got to go lift some heavy weight. And then I got to be battling with weight going up and down because I'm eating carbs all day because I want to prove I'm the strongest lifter in the gym.
The stimulus and fatigue of the muscle fibers that you want to grow, right? That is really...
That you want to grow. If you want to grow, go and eat. You got to progressively overload, dude, man.
Really what appears to be, to the best of our knowledge, a driver of hypertrophy. In other words, actually...
Yes, science will tell you food is the driver of protein synthesis. Protein is the driver of protein synthesis, okay?
training hard, or training with so much volume that it creates enough fatigue to recruit them, which really isn't training hard per se, it's just training.
Yeah, fatigue, volume. Fatigue is going to open a window for protein synthesis. Now you need to go progressively overload down at the buffet.
A lot. And again, people have gotten results doing both. And so when you look at it from that perspective, we do understand that there is.
Let's seriously. You can only grow so much even if I was, let's say I don't work out and I go down to the buffet and I eat. My muscles aren't going to, they're not really going to gain any mass. Maybe a little bit, okay? But not a lot. But if I go to the gym and I time it properly, which I've been kind of lazy recently doing that. I've been trying to time it now, my workouts. So it depends. If I'm doing muscle damage, it has to be once a week. Now, if I'm just going to build up some mass on the myofibrillar, well, yeah, I can either split it up or I can work out every day or whatever. I can even work out every day. I mean, it's meaningless. As long as I don't go and do crazy shit, like I gotta work to failure and all that, so I can fail at building muscle or whatever these people are doing, or drop sets or whatever the hell they're doing. No, man, you just do some relative sets to open a window, and then you go eat. You progressively overload down at the buffet. It's really simple. Bodybuilding is not complicated. If you build muscle, will you get stronger? Yes. But if you build sarcoplasmic muscles, will you get stronger? No. It'll be fake and you're just wasting your time. You got to maintain that crappy weight, that carbohydrate weight. Does Blaha built any muscle? No, absolutely not. He has no muscle on his body. He never built any muscle. He's just a short, chunky guy. That's about it. He's fat. He's actually fat. The amount of carbohydrates that his muscles are carrying and the fat on his body, he's fat, okay? He thinks carbs build muscles, and in fact, if his muscles are now loaded with carbs, but he's losing body fat, he's still fat.
Certainly a workload element to growing muscle mass. And most people know that if you train really, really hard, even if you don't train that much volume, people still grow, okay? So we can't.
No, they don't. They don't grow. They don't grow if they're eating one bowl of Cocoa Puffs like they did in the beginning. That's why they go, I reached my genetic limit, my newbie gains limit. I'm a hard gainer.
I can't really say that the volume is the driver, but by that same token, there's a minimum volume also, because obviously no one's getting jacked coming in and doing a 1 rep max once a week and going home.
I never see him building any muscle, do you? I see him lifting weights, breaking down. I see him opening a window and breaking down proteins. Right? That's all I see Blaha doing. And he takes TRT. He's taking some artificial hormones. I never see Blaha ever building any muscle.
Right? Almost no one gets jacked doing that. Maybe a few weird statistical outliers might have throughout history, but by and large, we know that really doesn't work. So when we look at it from this perspective, I think the way that I personally like to look at it is progressive overload can be a driver of hypertrophy if it makes you work harder, in the sense that
yeah, progressive overload down at the buffet is the driver of hypertrophy. But can progressively overloading weight be the driver? No, absolutely not. It will not. Not on one bowl of Cocoa Puffs. If you keep eating the same bowl of Cocoa Puffs and you haven't progressively overloaded, and if you've only progressively overloaded the weight, then forget it. You're wasting your time.
if we continue to do the same reps and sets, they will eventually get easier and easier and easier to the point of where they may not be stimulating new muscle growth.
Look, if that was true, then why isn't Blaha just getting bigger and bigger and bigger forever? He's lifting every day in a garage. I don't lift, and I'm massive. I'm big and I'm strong and I'm massive. I don't care. Look, man, I don't need to go lift weights because I built permanent muscle by damaging my muscles repetitively, damaging them, repairing them, and remodeling. I went through all that pain and discomfort. I went through all these things, okay, in the past. I don't need to go through them again forever. I need to continue doing these things forever and ever. You go do them. Look, man, this guy is not building muscle because if it's true what he keeps saying, lifting weights are building muscles, where's his muscles? He'd be massive by now. You understand me? He every time he'd lift, he'd grow a muscle. Where is it?
They become so easy. In other words, if you do 3 sets of 10 with 95 pounds on the bench press, right? If you're fairly new to training, you're going to grow from that, right? You're definitely going to grow from that.
Yeah, if you're new to training and you just lifted and you were eating that one bowl of Cocoa Puffs, yes, you most likely you'll grow. You all call it newbie gains. And then why does it stop? Because you stop progressively overloading. Get it? That was your problem.
But at what point will that stop being a stimulus for growth?
Easy. When you stop progressively overloading on the Cocoa Puffs, you need to progressively overload on the Cocoa Puffs.
Okay? Before long, it probably won't take long at all, right? Whereas, and if you're a more advanced
No, it'll take right away when you don't.
lifter and you're doing really hard 10 rep sets and you've been training 4 or 5 years, I mean, they may be stimulating small amounts of growth for a very, very long time, months, maybe even a year, because
No, it's not going on there.
we're pretty close to failure still. But I think
Yeah, all of you are failing. You are progressively failing. All of you.
the point that needs to be made here is that I
Look, man, I'm not laughing with all you people. I'm laughing at you. I put up my food videos, and the first thing people do, they get nuts, and they're like, "Hey, man, aren't you going to compete with this guy?" Or, that's not going to make you stronger. It's not going to get you bigger. Something like doing cable work, or all that. They get nuts when they see my food videos. Want to know why? Because they can't eat like that. They can't progressively overload the amount of food that I'm progressively overloading. See, they're going to the gym, destroying themselves. I'm not destroying myself. I'm making myself better. It promotes health. Weightlifting doesn't promote health. It accelerates aging. Food promotes health. Food is anti-aging. Food decelerates aging. Food makes you bigger and stronger, gives you bone mineral density and all that. Weight doesn't do that. Weight can make your bones brittle and actually make you weaker over time, and you'll fall apart, break a bone. And then you wonder why I've been lifting all this time, and then you wrecked a bone or you broke a bone or something, or you tore your muscles apart. Like Blaha, always getting injured and tearing things, tearing his muscles, like he's always said in his videos. And who knows what else happened there.
tend to view progressive overload itself, as long as if we are training hard. Meaning, again, if it's too easy, the lack of progressive overload will mean that we're not growing. In other words, when you get to a point where sets of 10 with 135 pounds are so...
Man, he's doing this because he eats a fake diet. That's why he has to do all this. A person on a natural diet, they don't have to do all that lifting and stuff. Oh, because I'm going to get what? I'm going to remineralize my bones, or my muscles are going to get stronger and better, or my skin is going to get better. So because I'm eating tofu, spaghetti, and hot dogs all day, I have to do these. I have to weight lift to get healthy because I'm so sick eating a sick diet. What, man? What? If you eat a proper diet, you don't have to do any of that.
easy for you that you're more than about 5 or 6 reps from failing on any given set. Okay, because you could actually do 17, 19, 20 reps instead of 10, because
you could do 5 reps, you could do 2 reps, you could do 3, 4, 5, 10 reps, 12 reps. What are the purposes behind doing reps? What are they for? Well, in muscle damage, we're shooting for a particular number in reps because we're going to get damaged anyways, because that's what we're gearing our workout for. We know that we're going in to get damaged. We're trying to overcome the repeated bout effect phenomena. We're trying to do some things that we're somewhat what you would say unaccustomed to doing this. We want to be unaccustomed doing this so we can get widespread muscle damage. That's in muscle damage training. Now, this guy's training, adapted training, trying to build mass, trying to open a window to get mass on the myofibrillar, or I don't even know what he's trying to do here exactly. But whatever it is, he's saying it's building muscles, these weights or something lifting, is not going anywhere fast. I told you, progressively overloading down at the buffet. If you don't understand what they're trying to explain you in science, when they say that protein synthesis needs to exceed that breakdown, well, what happens when you've already gained muscle mass and now you're going into the gym lifting again? Well, there's a window for breakdown there, right? So we're breaking down proteins. Are you breaking down the same proteins that you just built? Are you recycling them as a protein turnover? What are you doing exactly in the gym? What are you there for?
you've gotten big enough and strong enough to do that, you're probably not growing any further from it. if they're
Yes, if you didn't get bigger and stronger from it, you're probably not growing. Yeah, kind of like hello, yeah.
actually still hard sets, within a few reps of failure, you're probably going to keep growing from it no matter what, even at
No, you're not. That's why he has to take TRT because he can't afford to go progressively overloading down at the buffet because he can't afford to eat that much.
fully present. But we can come over and say that's because it gets easier once neural gains are made because we have gained muscle. In other words,
Wait, it becomes easier because you get neural gains, so muscle gains become easier. How do they become easier if you don't eat?
we have more muscle mass, larger cross-sectional areas of muscle are
Yeah, but none of you are building more muscle mass. That's why you're all taking steroids and supplements, because none of you are, because you don't understand that it's based on progressively overloading. Protein synthesis needs to exceed that breakdown. That's what they're telling you in science. They're telling you progressively overload means to eat. It doesn't mean lifting a weight. There's a you could call it progressively overloading on the frame of your body by increasing the weight over time. You're going to keep increasing it. You could call that, well, I'm progressively overloading. Okay, you can call it that if you want, I don't care. But progressive overload, what they're talking about in science, it means protein synthesis needs to exceed what? Breakdown. If it's not exceeding breakdown, then what? There's no growth. It means you need to be in a positive nitrogen balance. Now, how do you know you're in a positive nitrogen balance? It's really easy. It happens right after your workout. You go eat a bunch of protein, right? At some point, you won't be able to choke back any more protein. Why is that? Because ghrelin and leptin is working properly. Leptin will shut it off and say, okay, I think we've reached that nitrogen, our nitrogen balance is positive. We've reached that level of protein has exceeded breakdown. I eat enough protein in that seating until I've reached exceeded breakdown. That's it. That's what I do. And it depends. I may not finish in 4 hours. I may finish in 2 hours, maybe not even 3 hours. It depends. My body will let me know when I've exceeded breakdown, when that leptin kicks in and says, okay, I can't down another piece of meat. Even though there's lots of meat there, I want to force myself. I can't even force myself anymore because leptin has kicked in.
capable of doing more total work, at least relative to
And then the rest of the day, you need to keep supplementing with protein. You need to keep eating more meat throughout the day, the rest of the day, because you want to be in a positive nitrogen balance. You want to be anabolic the whole time. You still want to be anabolic even when you go to sleep at night. And then when you get up in the morning, you want to continue with that. But in muscle damage, protein synthesis is extended for the entire week and blood levels are elevated. So that entire week, you don't have to be a gym lifting slave because protein synthesis is extended for the repair and the remodeling. So what do? Well, you go down and eat at the buffet every day, get it? And you'll get big, massive, and strong. So you don't have to keep coming in the gym to try to build some fake mass on your myofibrillar, opening a window and then going down to the buffet. You understand what I'm trying to explain to you? Okay, whatever.
the weight they are moving, right? As you get bigger, what used to be your 1 rep max will eventually become your 10 rep max, your 15 rep max, your 20 rep max one day. You might even reach a point to where way more weight than you ever touched early on becomes your 20 rep max, right? Even a heavier weight. Because as we get bigger, we get stronger, okay?
Yeah, but you're not getting bigger and you're not getting stronger. And if you get carbohydrate bigger, you will not get stronger. You'll just get a bunch of liquid and you'll be hauling that around, which is not good, but whatever.
So we should realistically expect that progressive overload itself is really a byproduct of hypertrophy because it gives us
Yeah, but it's not based on progressively overloading on carbohydrates. It's based on progressively overloading on protein. Hello?
the ability to progress, right? When you get to a point where, in your squat 135 for a 5x5 was really
What is the point of building muscle? So you don't have to practice at lifting that weight anymore. That's the whole point. You understand me? Because if you go away for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, then that strength, that you progressively overloaded lifting the weight will go away. It'll go away. You won't be able to lift it. A lot of people have that trouble in the gym. They're like, yesterday I could squat 500. Today I could barely do 250. Why is that? Because it isn't based on myofibrillar strength. It's based on neurological and androgen receptor strength and stuff. Chemical
hard at
strength.
one time when it becomes easy, it's because you've gotten bigger. And it will eventually get to a point where you
Yeah, it got easier because you got bigger muscles. If you built bigger muscles, but none of you are.
simply will not grow from it because it's no longer challenging. It's not hard anymore. And when it ceases to be hard,
Why do you think it's hard for Blaha to lift all these weights? Because he never built any muscle. He's small. Why do you think he does 10-pound curls for his arms? Because they're small and weak. Because they never grew. All these weights would be easy for him to lift. He could literally go away from this garage for like a couple of months, come back to the garage, and he should be technically able to lift the same weights. But he can't. That's why he has to practice at lifting them, because it's based on chemical strength. It's phony.
we're no longer recruiting the highest threshold muscle fibers, the ones that are capable of the most growth. But if we are able to
You're not able to stimulate the ones that promote growth, the type 2. You are. You're just not doing it properly.
progress, right? Not to be able to progress in the sense of it was too easy, so we added weight over time. But when it's hard and it becomes easy enough that we can add weight,
Yeah.
that is because we got bigger. So in my opinion,
No, it's not. That can fool you too. You got better at lifting. You understand me? It's when you test your strength when you go away to see if you can lift that, if you can manage lifting those weights again a year later. Look, I'll explain this. In the past, when I went through like a repair and a remodeling of my muscle fibers, when I kept repeatedly damaging them, you understand me, in an unaccustomed state, and then progressively overloading eating food down at the buffet day in and day out. Okay, did I get bigger and stronger? Yeah, you get bigger and stronger. That's from my experience. And then I didn't lift sometime for months, maybe a year. I could literally walk off the street a year later, still squat the same weight, still bench the same weight, still row the same weight. Everything was the same. Nothing changed. It wasn't based on practice strength. It was now based on your permanent strength, like the permanent strength that you're born with. You're born with this permanent strength. So how do you increase your permanent strength? It's easy. You have to build more myofibrillars to increase your permanent strength. Get it? And then you'll be even stronger at lifting those weights. Yeah. You get it? It's not based on practice strength.
and I personally do see it in kind of the chicken and egg scenario, that progressive
Should
overload
I say it's not based on chemical strength, it's based on muscular strength.
in the sense of the ability to add more weight to the bar is evidence that you either got stronger neurologically, which the longer you've been training becomes a
Yeah, you got stronger neurologically, androgen receptor strength.
smaller and smaller percentage, or because the muscle fibers involved simply got thicker. They got bigger.
But they didn't get bigger. None of you are getting bigger. That's why you keep complaining about newbie gains. Genetic limit, newbie gains, and all that hard gainer.
Therefore, they're capable of producing more force. Therefore, less of them.
They are capable of doing it, but Blaha has never experienced that. That's why he's a lifting slave, and that's why he takes TRT to lift heavy weights, because he's never experienced that, because he's never gone out to actually build any muscle.
Are used on every given rep with that weight, which means we
He likes to pretend he has muscle because he's learned, well, if I get lean and if I lower my body fat, then I'll look this certain way. I'll look a certain way that looks like I have muscles, like I built muscles. Well, in fact, he's a lot smaller than he's ever been before, because he just said he's like at 208 now. I think his weight is 208, but I don't believe him. I think he's under 100 and something pounds, like Alpha Destiny, 160 pounds.
can either do more reps or we can add weight to the bar. Okay? It is largely a side effect. But here is why it may not matter again that much, because if we are not progressing, we're probably not growing. Whether it is the after
If we are not progressive, progressing. We are not not growing. Yeah, you are not progressively overloading with food, so you're not growing.
thought it's the after effect or the driver, because again, it's
One guy wrote me, he said, "Man, it's hard. It's hard to eat. It is hard to eat. It is easier to go to a gym. It's a lot harder to eat. It's a training, man."
that's still a point of contention. I personally think most likely, based upon all the available evidence, it is simply working hard. In other words, if you are working hard with enough reps and volume, right? Because obviously, again, a 1 rep max is really hard, but by itself isn't going to probably make you bigger beyond being a certain point, right?
How can a rep make you bigger?
Without other work being done afterwards or before, it's simply not going to be enough on its own. So it's not just working hard, it's working hard with enough volume, enough quality reps that we're challenging, that we're consistently fatiguing the muscle fibers we want to grow.
You're consistently fatiguing the muscle fibers you want to grow. Okay. You fatigue them, and now what? What do you do after you fatigue them? What do you do? Just walk around, make videos, and talk?
Okay, irrespective of whether that's true or it is the actual progressive overload,
They're not going to grow off the air in the garage, dude, breathing the air in the garage.
if you're not seeing progressive overload, you're simply not getting bigger because you're probably either no longer challenging the muscles sufficiently or you're not adding the weight that needs to be added. So either direction you go with this again, chicken or the egg scenario, you still need the progressive overload if you want to see consistent long-term gains. Because simply put, you just may not be training hard enough. Now, if you're continually training hard and you're still not even particularly strong,
Yes, train hard, train harder, and maybe a muscle may grow.
it may be a recovery issue.
Yes.
Right? You may be stimulating the growth, but if you're not recovering from it because you're not sleeping enough.
See, if you may be stimulating growth, but if you're not recovering from it, sleeping well, right? Sleeping is number one because you have to recover now, right? You're not growing, you're recovering. See?
Resting enough, you're overtraining, maybe not eating the protein or calories you need. That may be
Oh, now he says maybe you're not eating the protein or calories you need. So resting has to do with that. Yes, okay.
the issue. But as long as those things are in order, again, you're always going to see them correlated any way you break it down. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today.
Why does I've seen what he eats in his little basket, like some kind of tofu pasta and hot dogs with like what is it? Mustard, hot dog mustard chemicals, and I think there's beans in there, some rice, and some other weird stuff, maybe sweet potatoes. I don't know, and I don't know what else is in there, man. Some weird stuff and coffee and juices. I don't know. I just it's not enough. It's not enough to build any muscles. It's not. He's not progressively overloading. I'll see you in the next one, friends. Don't you think about that? Like, subscribe, support the channel. I'll see you in the next video. This was another strange video by Blaha.